trading partner. And now, for the first time in 7 years, a Chinese leader is visiting Saudi Arabia. And it's been 14 years since a Chinese president has visited Iran, where President Xi is also going. He'll also be visiting Egypt in this trip to the Middle East. Well, let's discuss this more with the BBC Persian Service's Amir Paivar. And Amir, for Iran, I suppose China has been one of the friends, one of the allies during those many years of international sanctions.
Absolutely, and the trade between the two countries flourished actually thanks to the sanctions. When the Europeans left the Iranian market, the Chinese and Indians moved in. The Chinese are perceived to be loyal to Iran and Iranian regime and Iranian economy, and they did benefit pretty well under those sanctions in the absence of competitors from the West. China is one of the top 3 trading partners of Iran, and China is Iran's #1 buyer of crude.
Now, this is a week in which we've talked a lot about Iran's new rosy prospects now that sanctions are being lifted. Does that mean China might become relatively less important? Is that something the president should worry about?
Well, I think the Iranian regime looks at China as a strategic ally. It's very unlikely that China will be pushed aside in the Iranian market anytime soon. But of course, if I were in Chinese shoes, I would be a bit nervous. Now that the Western firms, international big names are coming back to the country, there will be some fierce competition in that market.
Is there any talk in Iran about the fact that the Chinese president is also going to Saudi Arabia, the big regional rival?
Well, of course, as you know, in the recent weeks, Iran and Saudi Arabia have been locking horns, and they've been in quite a spat and conflict. Well, of course, Iranians understand that Saudi Arabia is even more significant and a bigger trading partner for China than Iran is. So it is totally understandable that the Chinese president had to make that first landing in the Middle East for a long time in Saudi Arabia rather than in Tehran. But generally, during those sanctions, because some Chinese businesses sold Iranian customers a little bit of goods of lower quality, a little bit in general terms in Iran, there is a little bit of skepticism about what actually China wants from Iran or can deliver to Iran. And sometimes with the average Iranian, not all Chinese goods have a good image.
It's interesting as well for President Xi as a global political player. He wants to make it known that China matters just as much as the Americans. And with Iran really a focus of global attention at the moment, it's a good place to make that point.
It is indeed. And Iran will be playing acts of balancing between as soon as it's getting, and the closer it gets to the West, but it also keeping its strategic ties with allies like Russia, China, or even India. It can benefit playing in between the two, kind of like saying, look, we were doing without you guys, and Chinese were here, but now that you're coming back, we're not just completely give up on them.
It'll be fascinating to watch. Amir Paivar, thank you very much.